Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on Akashvani. This is Navanita Adhikari bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Two-day meeting of foreign ministers of Shanghai Cooperation Organization to begin in Goa on Thursday. UN Secretary-General calls for more funding for Afghanistan, says the country is facing largest humanitarian crisis. Sri Lanka's top mobile telecommunication firm Dialog Axiata and India's Bharti Airtel signed binding term sheet for merger of Sri Lankan subsidiaries. World Bank to provide financial support to Bangladesh to support projects related to growth, regional connectivity and disaster preparedness. Russia accuses Ukraine of trying to kill President Vladimir Putin with drone attack on Kremlin. Ukraine denies its involvement in the Elish attack. And UN says Sudan faces catastrophe as 1 lakh people flee war. A two-day meeting of foreign ministers of Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO will begin on Thursday in Goa. Foreign ministers of 8 nations, including Pakistan and China, are expected to fly down to Goa for the key meeting. India, which took over the chairmanship of the SCO grouping in September last year, is hosting this year. The SCO has Russia, India, China, Pakistan and 4 Central Asian countries, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan as its member. A report.
India will be hosting the meeting of Council of Foreign Ministers of Shanghai Cooperation Organization member countries. It is organized on 4th and 5th May 2023 in Goa. Foreign ministers of member countries including China and Pakistan are expected to be present at the meeting. State government of Goa, in cooperation with the central government, has ensured well preparedness for the meeting. The meeting will give India and other member countries a platform to discuss multilateral cooperation and dispute issues. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization is a 8-member multilateral organization established on 15th June 2001 in Shanghai. Tushar Jadhav for AIR News, Goa.
Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Wednesday said that India's focus on MSMEs and ensuring food security has been instrumental in the Indian economy's successful recovery out of the COVID-19 pandemic. She said that protection of vulnerable sections has been India's prime focus as the government charted its course towards recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. The Finance Minister was addressing as a panelist in the Governor's seminar on the theme Policies to Support Asia's Rebound, held as part of 56th Asian Development Bank annual meeting in Incheon, South Korea. India's domestic coal production has risen by over 22% during the last 5 years. The Coal Ministry said that the country's overall coal production has seen a quantum jump to 893.08 million tons in financial year 2022-23 as compared to 728.72 million tons in financial year 2018-19 with a growth of about 22.6%. The priority of the ministry is to enhance the domestic coal production to reduce the dependence on substitutable coal imports. The Ministry of Home Affairs has decided to introduce millets, Shri Ann, in the meals of personnel of Central Armed Police Forces, CAPFs and National Disaster Response Force. The decision to introduce 30% millets in the meals has been taken on the clarion call of the Union Home Minister and Minister of Cooperation, Amit Shah, after detailed discussion with all the forces. The United Nations has declared 2023 the International Year Millets, as recognizing the importance of millets and creating a domestic and global demand, along with providing nutritious food to the people at the behest of the Government of India. Millets are a good source of protein, gluten-free, low in glycemic index and rich in dietary fiber, micronutrients including calcium, iron, phosphorus, etc. and phytochemicals. The campaign of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to promote Shri Ann will fulfill nutritional requirements of crores of people of the country. International Year of Millets 2023 will provide an opportunity to increase global production, efficient processing and better use of crop rotation and promote millets as a major component of the food basket. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned that Afghanistan faces the largest humanitarian crisis in today's world, while calling for more funding for the UN Humanitarian Response Plan. The UN chief made the remarks during a press conference in the Qatari capital of Doha following a two-day closed-door meeting on Afghanistan with special envoys from more than 20 countries and international organizations including Russia and the United States. Currently, 97% of the population in Afghanistan is living in poverty, while two-thirds of the population require humanitarian assistance to survive this year, Guterres said. He warned that the UN's Humanitarian Response Plan, which seeks $4.6 billion in funding, has only received $294 million with a 94% shortfall. Guterres also emphasized that the meeting was about developing a common international approach and not about recognition of the de facto Taliban authorities. Sri Lanka's top mobile communication firm Dialog Axiata and India's Bharti Airtel have signed a binding term sheet for the merger of their Sri Lankan subsidiaries. Dialog is Sri Lanka's largest telecommunications provider. With this merger, Bharti Airtel will get access to a large customer base in the island nation. Dialog Axiata, which is a subsidiary of Malaysian Axiata, informed of the proposed merger in a disclosure to Colombo Stock Exchange. The proposed transaction envisages Airtel being granted a stake in Dialog, representing fair value of Airtel Lanka. The disclosure added that Airtel would be issued new shares in Dialog upon completion of the transaction. Further discussions with respect to the proposed transaction are ongoing between the parties and also with the relevant regulatory authorities as per applicable laws and regulations. The proposed transaction is subject to signing of definitive agreements and necessary closing conditions, including applicable regulatory and shareholder approvals. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on Defence Minister's call for collective efforts to deal with common challenges in Indian Ocean region.
India and Maldives share ethnic, linguistic, cultural, religious and commercial links steeped in antiquity and enjoy close, cordial and multi-dimensional relations. India was among the first to recognize Maldives after its independence in 1965 and to establish diplomatic relations with the country. India has a preeminent position in the Maldives, with relations extending to virtually most areas. The importance of India's strategic role in the Maldives is well recognized, with India being seen as a net security provider. India First has been a stated policy of the Government of Maldives, or GOM. Prime Minister Modi attended the inaugural ceremony of President Ibrahim Mohammed Saleh on 17th November 2018 as the only head of state. He also held bilateral discussions with President Saleh just after his swearing-in ceremony, in which he conveyed India's desire to work closely for the realization of Maldives' developmental priorities, especially in areas of infrastructure, healthcare, connectivity and human resource development. The Defence Minister, Shri Rajnath Singh, arrived in the Maldives on the 1st of May 2023 on a 3-day official visit at the invitation of his Maldivian counterpart, Ms. Maria Ahmadidi. As a special gesture, reflecting the warmth in the bilateral relations, the Defence Minister of Maldives broke protocol and personally received Mr. Singh upon arrival at the airport. The Defence Minister and Ms. Maria Didi held bilateral talks to enhance defence cooperation and strengthen the long-standing partnership between India and the Maldives. They discussed a wide range of regional and global security issues of mutual concern and agreed to deepen their cooperation in the defence and security domains. On the second day of his 3-day visit to the Maldives, Shri Rajnath Singh handed over a fast patrol vessel and a landing craft assault ship to the Maldives National Defence Forces (MNDF) on 2nd May 2023. The fast patrol vessel, capable of coastal and offshore surveillance at high speeds, was commissioned as MNDF Coast Guard ship Huravi. The President of Maldives, Mr. Ibrahim Mohammed Saleh, and Defence Minister Ms. Maria Ahmadidi were present on the occasion. Speaking on the occasion, Sri Rajnath Singh described the handing over of the two Made in India platforms as a symbol of the shared commitment of India and the Maldives towards peace and security in the Indian Ocean region, IOR. He stated that India, through a robust defence ecosystem, has significantly enhanced its manufacturing capabilities to further support the capacity building of partner countries. Mr. Rajnath Singh said that India has emerged as a leading defence exporter in the recent years. A defence manufacturing ecosystem has been created which has the advantage of abundant technical manpower. India produces world-class equipment to meet not only her own needs but also for exports. India offers an enhanced defence partnership to friendly foreign countries that is accommodative of their national priorities and capacities. India wishes to create symbiotic relationships where the two nations can learn from each other, grow together, and create a win-win situation for all. India's commitment to support the Maldives will only get stronger with time, said the Defence Minister. On India's strong defence cooperation with the nation, Sri Rajnath Singh asserted that the ties emanate from the twin policies of Neighbourhood First and Sagar, that is, security and growth for all in the region. He recalled Prime Minister Modi's visit to the Maldives in June 2019, during which he emphasized that neighbourhood first is our priority and in the neighbourhood, Maldives is priority. Mr. Rajnath Singh called for enhanced cooperation among nations in the IOR to address the common challenges faced by the region. He said, quote, "The Indian Ocean is our shared space. The primary responsibility for peace, stability and prosperity in the region rests with those who live in the region. Peace and security of a region are best secured with cooperation and collaboration of the regional players." Unquote. The visit also saw the laying of the foundation stone for the MNDF Coast Guard Ek-Hata Harbour by the Defence Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh and Minister DV. The development of the Coast Guard Harbour and repair facility at Sifavaru is one of the biggest grant and aid projects of India. Prior to his departure, Mr. Rajnath Singh expressed his appreciation for the warm and cordial hospitality extended to him and his delegation by his Maldivian counterpart, Ms. Maria Didi, during the visit. Both parties reaffirmed their commitment to further strengthen the partnership between their countries and expressed common sentiments that they look forward to continuing the dialogue and cooperation in the future. The visit renewed the sense of commitment of the two friendly neighbours to enhance the security and prosperity of their respective countries and the region. This is Saira Mujtaba for World News.
The World Bank will provide $2.25 billion to Bangladesh to support projects related to growth, regional connectivity and disaster preparedness. The agreement was signed in Washington on Wednesday to celebrate 50 years of partnership between the World Bank and Bangladesh. The financial agreement includes support for 5 projects in Bangladesh. The World Bank will provide $743.45 million to improve regional trade under its Accelerating Transport and Trade Connectivity in Eastern South Asia Program Phase 1. Under the Resilient Infrastructure for Adaptation and Vulnerability Reduction project, Bangladesh will receive $500 million to support its Delta Plan 2100 to improve disaster preparedness against inland flooding. The first Green and Climate Resilient Development Credit project of $500 million will help the country's transition to green and climate resilient development. The $250 million Sustainable Microenterprise and Resilient Transformation Project will help transform the microenterprise sector into a more dynamic, less polluting, resource-efficient and climate-resilient growth sector. The fifth one, Bangladesh Environmental Sustainability and Transformation BEST project, will help Bangladesh strengthen environmental management and promote private sector participation in green investment. Commemorating the 50 years of partnership with Bangladesh, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said in Washington that Bangladesh has transformed its economy and made it more resilient as demonstrated during the COVID-19 pandemic. She expressed hope that World Bank will continue to work with Bangladesh to help it achieve higher income country status by 2041. The United States has said that it supports free and fair elections in Bangladesh and around the world, but does not endorse one political party or candidate over the other. Briefing the media in Washington, Principal Deputy Spokesperson of the State Department, Vedant Patel, said that the U.S. expects elections in any country to happen freely, fairly and with neutrality, and it is for that country to conduct the election with neutrality. Earlier on Monday, the State Department had said that the US wants elections in Bangladesh to be reflective of the will of Bangladeshi people, and it has nothing to say beyond that, as it is an internal domestic election. More than half of the women in Bangladesh are married before the age of 18, says UNICEF, quoting a 2019 multiple indicator cluster survey. The report says that Bangladesh has the highest prevalence of child marriage in Asia and 8th highest prevalence in the world. Approximately 34.5 million women in Bangladesh were married before they turned 18. Over 13 million women were married before they turned 15. UNICEF data shows that 24% of the women give birth before the age of 18. UNICEF representative to Bangladesh, Sheldon Yeti, said, despite progress, the number of child brides in Bangladesh is staggering. He said millions of girls are being robbed of their childhood and denied their fundamental rights. He called for urgent and concerted action to protect girls, to ensure that they stay in school and have the opportunity to grow up to their fullest potential. Worldwide conflict, climate-related disasters, and the ongoing impacts of COVID-19, especially rising poverty, income shocks, and school dropout, are helping to increase the drivers of child marriage. As a result, girls living in fragile settings are twice as likely to become child brides as the average girl globally. This is Akashvani giving you the world news. Russia has accused Ukraine of attempting to kill President Vladimir Putin. It claimed to have shot down 2 drones which were used in the alleged attack. The Kremlin said the drones used in the alleged attack on Putin's residence were disabled by electronic devices. The statement said President Putin was not hurt and his schedule will continue as normal. Fragments of the drones had fallen on the Kremlin. Russian state media said a drone strike caused a large fire at an oil storage facility in southwestern Russia near Crimea. Ukraine has denied its involvement in the alleged attack. More than 1 lakh people have fled Sudan since heavy fighting broke out between rival forces on April 15, the UN has said. A further 3.34 lakh people have been displaced within Sudan. UN's humanitarian coordinator in Sudan, Abdo Dieng, said that more than 2 weeks of devastating fighting risked turning the country's humanitarian crisis into a full-blown catastrophe. Fighting is continuing in the capital Khartoum between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF), despite a ceasefire due to be in force. Diplomatic efforts are being stepped up to try and get the warring parties to the negotiating table. In a statement, South Sudan's foreign ministry said the army and RSF have agreed in principle to a new 7-day truce from Thursday and have promised to send representatives to talk. The statement came a day after the UN Special Envoy to Sudan, Volker Perthes, told reporters that the two sides have agreed to negotiate a stable and reliable ceasefire. Perthes added that Saudi Arabia is a potential venue for the talks. If talks take place, it would be the first meeting between the two sides since the conflict started. 8 students and a security guard have been killed after a shooting at a school in Serbia's capital, Belgrade. Another 6 pupils and a teacher were injured in the attack and have been taken to hospital, the Interior Ministry said in a statement. Police arrested a 14-year-old student at the Vladislav Revinkar School in central Belgrade in connection with Wednesday's morning's attack. An investigation into the motives behind the incident is underway. Mass shootings are comparatively rare in Serbia, which has very strict gun laws, but gun ownership in the country is among the highest in Europe. The Western Balkans are awash with hundreds of thousands of illegal weapons following wars and unrest in the 1990s. In 2019, it was estimated that there are 39.1 firearms per 100 people in Serbia, the 3rd highest in the world behind US and Montenegro. Brazilian police on Wednesday raided former President Jair Bolsonaro's home and seized his cell phone as part of an investigation into his COVID-19 vaccination records. Police said the database had been altered to change the vaccination status of several unnamed individuals. Mr. Bolsonaro's close aide Mauro Cid has been arrested as part of the raid. Federal police said false data has been inserted into the COVID-19 vaccination records held by the Brazilian Ministry of Health. According to police, this was done so that the individuals whose vaccination status had been changed would be able to get the vaccination certificates necessary to enter the United States at the time. Mr. Bolsonaro is a vocal opponent of COVID vaccination who repeatedly spread false information about the vaccine and its alleged side effects. During one social media live stream in 2021, he wrongly claimed that COVID-19 vaccines increase the chance of developing AIDS. In October 2021, he said he would not get vaccinated against COVID. On a charge of sending Nepalese to the USA in the guise of Bhutanese refugees, an arrest warrant has been issued against CPN-UML Secretary Topahadur Rayamaji and his son Sandeep. The police have arrested Teg Narayan Pandey, Secretary at the Office of Vice President, on the charge of involvement in a racket of sending people to the United States, identifying them as Bhutanese refugees. Before being transferred, Pandey worked at the Ministry of Home Affairs. He is reported to have been involved in the illegal act when he was posted at the ministry. Nepal police arrested the former parliamentarian of Nepal, Indrajit Rai, for his involvement in this scam in Lalitpur on Tuesday. Arrested Rai, who also served as a security advisor to the then Minister of Home Affairs, Ram Bahadur Thapa, has now been kept at Police Range, Kathmandu. Police held him after news about Rai's involvement in sending Nepalese to the USA in the guise of Bhutanese refugees was published and broadcast. Earlier, police arrested 5 people on the same charge. The US is sending 1,500 troops to bolster resources at its southern border ahead of an expected surge of migrants, the Defense Department said. They will accompany 2,500 National Guard members already in place to support the work of border agents. Title 42, a Trump-era policy that gives the government power to automatically expel undocumented migrants, is set to expire on 11th of this month. Officials expect a sharp increase in migrants to follow. The additional military personnel will be deployed for 90 days to supplement the work of U.S. Customs and Border Patrol officers. Department of Defense said the additional personnel would fill critical capability gaps. Pentagon spokesman General Patrick Ryder told media that the troops will arrive as early as 10th of May. The deployment is meant to ease the growing pressure on border agents as they prepare for a sharp increase in migrants at the southern border. The Bangladesh Met Department on Wednesday issued an alert message that a low pressure is likely to form over the South Bay of Bengal around 7th May. It is likely to intensify. The system is under constant watch and being monitored regularly, said the alert message. In the meanwhile, the Indian Meteorological Department, IMD, in this weather outlook on Tuesday said that a cyclonic circulation is likely to develop over Southeast Bay of Bengal around 6th May. Under its influence, a low pressure area is likely to form over the same region around 7th May. It is likely to concentrate into a depression over Southeast Bay of Bengal on 8th May. Thereafter, there is a good possibility of its intensification while moving nearly northward towards Central Bay of Bengal. The IMD said the system is under watch. The details of its path and intensification will be provided after the formation of low pressure area. World Press Freedom Day is being celebrated today. It is celebrated on May the 3rd every year to emphasize the importance of press freedom and its role in society. The day is also celebrated to educate people regarding the role of media on a global level. The theme of the day this year is Shaping a Future of Rights. freedom of expression as a driver for all other human rights. While digital technologies and independent media have enabled the unrestricted dissemination of information, threats still persist, leading to consequences for basic human rights. On the other hand, with the growth of digital media, the flow of misinformation has increased, prompting for more significant role of the press. Indian archers made a strong start to their campaign in the Asia Cup Stage 2 World Ranking Tournament in Tashkent on Wednesday, reaching the finals of all 4 team events in the recurve and compound sections. Mrinal Chauhan, Tushar Shelke and Jayant Talukdar of India defeated Uzbekistan's Chen Yaoye, Mirzalol Karolov and Amirkhan Sadiqov in the semi-final. On Friday, the men's recurve team will compete for gold against their Chinese opponents. The key domestic indices logged losses today. Index of top 30 companies at Bombay Stock Exchange Sensex closed below 61,200 points, while Nifty index of top 50 companies at National Stock Exchange settled near 18,000 level. Both stocks fell amid mixed global cues. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex declined 161 points or 0.26% to close at 61,193. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange also fell 58 points or 0.32% to close at 18,090. Asian shares declined, tracking losses on Wall Street ahead of a decision on interest rates by the Federal Reserve. Hong Kong's Hang Seng was down by 1.2%. South Korea's Kospi declined about 1% and Singapore's Straits Times Index lost 0.6%. Japan's Nikkei 225 was closed on account of Constitution Memorial Day and China's Shanghai Composite was shut due to Labor Day celebrations. European shares were positive in intraday trade. Oil prices extended losses after plunging 5% in the previous session as investors fretted about the health of the US economy ahead of an expected Federal Reserve interest rate hike later. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at around $78.97 per barrel. Back home, gold prices at the Multi-Commodity Exchange for June contracts was trading at 60,745 rupees per 10 grams. Silver was trading at 75,220 rupees per kilogram for May contracts when reports last came in. And at the forex market, the rupee appreciated 5 paise to close at 81 rupees and 83 paise against the US currency. S. Rangabashyam for World News.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Financial Times writes, Zelensky visits Finland for summit with Nordic leaders. The Wall Street Journal reports Air Force plans special operation mission for Arizona base set to lose aging attack planes. Le Monde reports former French PM Fillon turns deaf ear to acquisitions of Kremlin ties. The Business Recorder writes SAARC region hit with inflation, slow growth, poverty, SBP governor. And now a quick look at the headlines once again. Two-day meeting of foreign ministers of Shanghai Cooperation Organization to begin in Goa on Thursday. UN Secretary General calls for more funding for Afghanistan, says the country is facing largest humanitarian crisis. Sri Lanka's top mobile telecommunication firm Dialog Axiata and India's Bharti Airtel signed binding term sheet for merger of Sri Lankan subsidiaries. World Bank to provide financial support to Bangladesh to support projects related to growth, regional connectivity and disaster preparedness. Russia accuses Ukraine of trying to kill President Vladimir Putin with drone attack on Kremlin. Ukraine denies its involvement in the alleged attack. And UN says Sudan faces catastrophe as 1 lakh people flee war. And now before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan by artists from Poland.
सकल
with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.